Hi guys, welcome to Creations by Karen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful little flower on a Unique in the Creek flower board. If you've never used one of these boards before, they are amazing. All the petals are pre-placed for them. I put 6-inch zip ties in all of the spaces that they had designated, and this is going to whip up really, really easy. I'm going to be using pink today to make my flower. I bought a couple of rolls of Deco mesh from my local Dollarama, which is in London, Ontario, Canada. Here in Canada, we don't have the variety of mesh that you do in the States. So I was able to buy two 21-inch rolls of mesh for $4 each, which I thought it was going to be kind of not great mesh, but it turned out to be really nice mesh. So what I did was I took my wood burner and I cut my mesh into 10 by 10 squares. I did double it because I really wanted the color to really pop today. So I did, I doubled the mesh, but even doubling it, I didn't use both rolls of mesh, which is great. Anyways, I'm going to show you how to fold the mesh. We are going to be doing a Dean Michaels sunflower petal. She is the woman actually that created this flower. So you have only one finished edge on this because we did use a 21-inch roll of mesh. So you just I turned it into a diamond shape, and I have it so that it curls down. So I just come into the middle. I just scrunch it from one end to the other. So it looks like a bow tie. And then I just pull the bottom through to the top. And then here you have a pretty petal. And the color is like crazy good for being dollar store mesh, right? Now when I make these, I usually make up all the petals ahead of time, and I do apply little rubber bands that I'm able to get at Dollar Tree on it, so I can sit upstairs and watch TV and make all the petals. And I have done that, but I wanted to do a couple of petals just to show you the fold for them. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to place it into the wreath form. So once again, I've placed all my tie wraps. I did use 6-inch tie wraps. So you can use 4-inch tie wraps for these, but I find you don't have a whole lot of room for that. I do use needle nose pliers to pull it nice and tight, and I generally wait until I have all my petals in before I clip all the tie wraps off. So that's what the first petal looks like on this particular flower. I'll show you that fold again. Once again, you have a 10 by 10 inch piece of mesh, and you can use scissors to cut this, but notoriously mesh frays. So that's why I use a wood burner. If you do use a wood burner, just make sure when you're cutting your mesh that you have some kind of protective device covering your mouth and nose, because you are burning plastic, and it does give off sort of a toxic effect apparently. And make sure your cat or dog or animal is not in the room while you're doing it. I'm hoping in Canada, it's April in Canada and it's cold. It actually woke up to snow this morning, so yeah, that's not good. Anyways, so hopefully when summer comes I can cut my mesh outside and I won't have to worry about it. All right, so my finished edge is down here. So I'm just going to come into the middle. I'm just going to scrunch it here, scrunch it here. So it looks like a bow tie. And then I'm just going to tuck this one underneath the top one like this. All right, and here's my one finished edge. So when I'm placing it on my board, I'm going to place it in the spot next to the previous petal. And I want to make sure that my finished edge is slightly covering the unfinished edge of the petal that I put in previously, if that makes sense. And take my needle nose pliers and snug it up. So once again, I've got my unfinished edge covered by my finished edge, like this. Okay, so here's a finished edge and here's another finished edge. So I've already made the petals, so I'm just going to go ahead and place them in. Just place your petal in, and you'd like these to be all about the same size. I made a sunflower with this mesh, and it really turned out really well. I'm actually stunned that it's such nice mesh from a dollar store. The thing I like about these Unique in the Creek boards is that there's no thought has to go into it. All the placement of the petals is already made for you. It's a huge time saver, and it's so pretty when it's done. This mesh is the same as every other mesh in that it likes to stick together when you put it in after you've made them. So as you can see, all my petals are basically the same size. I think it's important to realize that no flower is perfect. Mine certainly won't be. And you can whip these up in no time. Before I found Unique in the Creek, I was using just regular wreath forms and placing mesh in the base of it, and it was very time consuming. Here there's no thought necessary. And you do have small and large boards at Unique in the Creek. It is a company based out of Canada, although they do have suppliers down in the States. I order mine right from Canada because it's free shipping in Canada, and I think it takes like 4 or 5 days to get here, which is fine. And they have like all sorts of different boards. They have character boards. They have ones that look like Christmas tree. They have a horse one. My son's girlfriend has a horse, so I'd like to do a horse one up for Stephanie. She has all sorts of different tutorials on the Unique in the Creek. If you go onto YouTube, all the different flowers and petals that you can do with these boards. It's crazy. It's fun though. Really fun. I know we're in the midst of a pandemic right now, and you gotta try any way you can sort of to keep yourself amused. Now I'm gonna go through and cut all these zip ties off. Now I usually like to use my cuticle cutters, but I think, oh, I guess they're good. Sometimes I have trouble with my cuticle cutters when I'm using 6-inch zip ties. Usually I use 4-inch if I'm just, 4-inch zip ties if I'm just doing it on a wire freeform. People think I'm crazy using cuticle cutters. Well, you know what? I have very small hands, and it's just, it works for me. Because I have a pair of like wire cutters, but I find that they're awkward and bulky. So I just prefer to use these. And really, like, they're $1.25 at the dollar store here. So if I get 10 uses out of them, it's like $1.25 well spent. Okay, we're almost done the first row. So as you can see, once you get your petals on, it's a really good size. Now, I know that a lot of people like the larger ones, but I think this is good for like a front door, or even if you're giving it to somebody for an apartment, it would be perfect. And I think these would make great Mother's Day gifts. So I know that when my mom was around, I used to buy her flowers for Mother's Day. That's kind of what they do for mothers. But I think this would be awesome for Mother's Day. And you're just going to turn all your tie wraps to the side, the head of the tie wrap to the side. And that just basically just keeps your next row of petals laying a little bit more flat. Okay, so that's what your first row looks like going on. And as you can see, it's really good size when you have your 10-inch petals on. Okay, we're just going to go through and put all these in the second row. And when I'm placing these, I place them just before they hit the next row of zip tie. And that works really well for me. And when you put this petal down, it covers the zip tie of the previous row's petals. And as you can see, I have like the little rubber bands on here. I used to use zip ties, or not zip ties, clothes pegs to keep the petals in place before I put them on. But I saw this on YouTube, and somebody was using these little rubber bands, and you can get them at our local dollar store for like $500 for $1.25. So that's great. And they do disintegrate in time, so why not, right? Anything that you can do to make things a little bit easier, I'm all for that. So as you can see, this is like so quick being made. It's just, I think of the hours and hours I did spend making flowers just on a regular wreath form, and I can't say as I'll quickly go back to that. I think I'll just keep using the Unique and the Creek flower boards. Yeah, they're a little bit more expensive than just a regular wreath form, but you know what? My time is way more precious than the couple of extra dollars that I'm spending on this wreath form. Especially if you're a new person to making wreaths, you know, this is really easy. It's an incredible ego booster when you can whip these off in no time at all. So there's my second row in. I'm just going to go around and clip all my tie wraps. Like so. I haven't done a flower on a large board yet. Probably should. Just to see what all the hype's about, I guess. I did order some character boards from Unique in the Creek. Okay, so we're going into the third row. So you're going to need 36 petals in total to make this wreath. And like I said, this woman that created these things just was right on the money with placement of the petals. Brilliant, really, I think. In hindsight, I wish I could have thought of something that great. I'm quite impressed with this dollar store mesh. Like making this wreath for less than $8 for all the mesh that I need. I can't beat that. And it sure doesn't look like it, that's for sure. once you have all your petals in place, you can certainly go around and fluff them up and make sure everything's covered. I did forget to turn all my second ones to the side there. Probably should have done that. Go back and do it now. And the only reason I realized that was because this one was sticking up a little bit. There we go. One more. There we go. Okay, just going to go through and cut all these tie wraps off. It's one more row to do. How easy is this, right? It was December 16th, and I had to go to put my garbage out this morning, and there was snow on the ground here. What is that? Turned around and came back inside. It's crazy. I know with all this COVID-19 going around, a lot of people out walking, and they're all bundled up today walking around. I'm turning all my tie wraps to the side so I don't forget to do that. And then I'm putting my last row in. So there's a third row in. Cool, eh? All right. So I've got 4 tie wraps here. Now, for these ones, I tend to open these up just a little bit. Just to cover up the tie wraps on the previous row. Looks so pretty. Just open this up. You know, I'm thinking this would be a really good craft for kids because it's, you know, it's pretty mindless, really. So I need one more after this. I'll have to fold one. Just going to open this one up a little bit. A lot of this is going to be covered by the center that I'm going to be putting on. I have to fold one more petal. Let's put this off to the side. Once again, we're using the Dean Michaels petal, regular sunflower petal. So I have one finished edge. So I start at the middle, just scrunch one end up, and then the other one. So you have a bow tie, and then you just turn this one under. I am going to leave it a little bit open, so just place my petal in. so. Zip tie. Snug enough. Just going to open this up a little bit more. And that just covers up the tie wraps on the previous row. I have got a really good size center for this, so you're not going to see any of this. Okay? We'll just clip all these off. Just like that. Just turn these to the side. And there's all my petals onto my flower board. Right? So pretty. Now, I did make a center of it. I really like this glittery green. So what I did is I took a styrofoam ball, I cut it in half, and I got this at Dollarama, and it was the larger of the styrofoam balls that they had. Just cut it in half. I painted it lime green, and then I waited for that to dry, and then I put a coat of Deco or Mod Podge on it. And then I glittered it while it was still wet with Mod Podge. And then I waited for it to dry, and then I put another coat of Mod Podge on just to seal it. And so to affix it to my wreath form, I've just placed a chenille stem in the bottom of it. And then I used just some floral wire, and I just cut them in little pieces, and then created a U, and then pushed it through the styrofoam to secure the chenille stem. And then for some added security, I just took a small piece of foam that I had, glued it onto the back of the center, and then put more floral wire in, right? So that's really secure. It's not going to come off. And that's what I want. I don't want anything that's going to come off. So when you're putting this down, you just want to put this in the holes that is available, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this hole and then the one directly across from it. Now I do have some I definitely have room. And then I'm going to use the one directly across from it. Sometimes when you're using bigger pipe cleaners, or not pipe cleaners, zip ties, then it can be a struggle placing that in. My cat's here for a visit. Now all you want to do is really just snug this down in place, and just a couple of good turns with this. And then just clip the excess off. And as you can see at the back of this board, there is nothing that can scratch a door or cause any damage at all, because the zip ties are still on the other side. So yeah, that's what the back looks like. Oops. My cat's come for a visit. Go lay down, Lexi. Go, 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 go. Okay, so this is what my finished wreath looks like. And I think it's adorable. Right? And that took no time at all. None. Like start to finish, putting it together, maybe 15 minutes, 20 at the most. The longest part of this whole thing is cutting the mesh. And you know what? Use scissors. And then if you do use scissors, you can go through and just cut off all your frayed edges. But you know what? I use a wood burner and I have very little fray. Anyways, that's it. that is my beautiful flower using the Unique in the Creek small flower board. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, because I do tutorials every Sunday and every Thursday on all sorts of different crafts for your home and your garden. And I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great day. Thanks.